Welcome back to TechMates. Today we are cutting through the sci-fi hype to see what robots can actually do in the real world. We've got three founders tackling totally different environments. We'll cover why a robot folding your laundry is still a massive headache, why autonomous surgery is still actually easier than self-driving cars, and how robotic submarines could save our cities from running out of water. First up is David Inks, breaking down why your trusty dishwasher won't be replaced by a humanoid robot anytime soon.
Just go and do it and see what happens.
Ideas are worth like jack shit, absolute jack shit. Like if you can't execute, there's nothing.
Just take that initiative to actually take whatever crazy ideas that they might have and just try to see what comes of it.
Don't be afraid of ambition. Chase it, love it, wrap your arms around it and say it out loud.
New Zealanders don't know any better. They will just get up and give it a shot. That's why we were first to get to the top of Mount Everest.
Go to dream that ultimate dream. Like, what is it that you ultimately want to do? And it's all achievable.
Do you already see that? Or when do you think that'll happen? Where like you have a robot that sort of just give it a vague task, right? In the same way that you give an LLM like a vague task, and then sort of just like goes and reasons and then outputs, like does some series of actions.
And because we have seen so much hype around what robots could potentially do over the last 10 years and what they really can't do, like even at the moment, the reliability on a robot waking up, getting the photo and making its way home alive is still really low. And it's like, come on, you're seeing all these videos of these amazing robots doing these amazing things. And it's like, hey, just to build base reliability into basic logic, it's still very, very hard. And then people say, well, hey, when is this robot going to, reason? So I say like, so just like ground robots have like exponentially more complicated than aerial robots. Aerial robots generally always have GPS coordinates. It's very easy to get a robot to go from point A to point B in the sky. Is, exponentially more complicated indoors when you don't have GPS for a robot to know where it is and to get from point A to point B. Plus things can get in its way. There's people moving around. It's like significantly more complicated. And then you start adding in something like, when is a robot going to be able to fold the laundry? So even without the reasoning part of, hey, go find the laundry in the house and just like fold it. It may land up on the couch folding a blanket or something stupid. Like even knowing the context of laundry basket, it's clean laundry, not dirty laundry. It's just like this massive problem. It's like really, really complicated. So I think that is the holy grail. And I think that's where the embodied AI is really focusing on, to say like, yeah, we can actually make a robot that, because it looks like a human and people look at it moving and they freak out and they go, this thing is now a human. It's like, no, it's like 0.1% of a human right now. What's more of a human is ChatGPT. That's way more of a human. This robot is like not a human. It's super dumb. So yes, as I say, even finding the clean laundry is going to be a mammoth task. Never mind picking it apart and putting it down and folding it, and then knowing where each piece goes intuitively and opening drawers without them falling out, or, what if there's not enough space in the drawer? That is going to take a long time to solve. And so the question with any of these robots is, a lot of these humanoid robotics companies learned from Boston Dynamics, who started off really generic, saying, we're a cool tech company, we can build robots, and then we'll figure out what they're good at. A lot of the humanoid robotics companies are saying, look, let's absolutely focus on a use case that's simpler. It's really simple. Health and safety environment, like a factory context for building a BMW. You can put up perimeter tape. We're not going to hurt anyone. Great tech. We don't have kids getting hurt by robots folding laundry. And then it's like highly contained use case. Like we can pre-train it on every object it's ever going to come interaction with. There's only 3 types of panels, car panels, you're ever going to touch. Here they are, pre-programmed, ready to go. You're only ever going to stand like in 2 places, there and there. We can map the environment. So they've constrained the domains of problem right down and get those working, and then they can build layer on layer on layer. So even when these robots start coming into the home, they're going to start off with incredibly basic tasks. And I think we had a chat in the car around even cooking, like even the best cooking robots, at best can make one type of pizza, or at best can make soup. That's like the extent of their capability. So I think, is AI going to provide these incredible leapfrogs where year on year we're going to make massive progress? Man, I hope so. But history says no. History with autonomous driving says it's going to take way longer than we think to get a sock folding robot that can put the socks away in the drawer.
And what do you think will be the first kind of mass application of kind of robotics in a consumer setting, like in a home, for example, or in a workplace?
The big question is still the specialized robot. It's like, oh, well, I could use that robot to vacuum my floor. It's like, well, just get a vacuum cleaner robot. It's way cheaper. And much more reliable. Well, maybe it could wash my dishes. Like you already have a dishwasher, but it needs to be packed. So I think eventually you realize, well, outdoors, you're probably going to get a lawn mowing robot. You're not going to use the humanoid there. Indoors, you already have a washing machine and a dishwasher and certain things. And then if somebody said laundry folding, maybe it's just a laundry folding cabinet, which they have now, which, they're working on. And all that thing does is fold laundry, out comes from the dryer, goes in that thing. So I think it is a fascinating thing. And I think the problem is the robot's going to have to be incredibly generic to actually be useful for those kinds of environments. And you might find specific robot form factors just outperform it for a while until it becomes really, really good. And it can pack the dishwasher, maybe cook, And I'm in, like when it can start doing that stuff, all of us are going to buy one, but
it won't be like a Judy from the Jetsons, but it'll be more like, I talk to like my ChatGPT or my Siri on my phone, and there's like 10 specialized robots in my house, each doing a certain thing. Kind of thing?
I think it's going to be all of those. I think we will continue to see specialized robots getting cheaper and better at mowing your lawn rather than teaching a humanoid robot to drag your lawnmower around. But then also I think there's just a level of tasks which require high mobility and height, which is designed for a human. So to get dirty plates off the table, take them to the kitchen, rinse them off, stick them in the dishwasher, pretty hard to build a robot that can do that doesn't look like a human. That's designed for a humanoid robot. But I think we are going to see a number of those things shrink. So, by the time they're ready, like some of their tasks already would be done by a specialist robot that's going to continue to be just better than them. Maybe laundry folding,
My sense is like, I feel like, and I don't know if this directly answers that question that I asked, but it feels like military use case might be the first time where we see like at real scale, like autonomous robots, right? Like you're seeing it in Ukraine now with the drones, and a lot of the drones are becoming more and more autonomous. And we looked at a couple of companies that are doing that, basically just, killer drones, right? Like,
and again, it's highly contained. I think one of the problems is people always associate robots with batteries, not petrol. And if you look at Robotics Plus, it's like, hey, if you're trying to last in a farm for a long period of time, maybe using diesel is the way to go. Maybe it's a gen set that powers a battery, but it's, hey. So I think the question is, what is, is it then an autonomous vehicle, not a robot? I think the biggest problem, a lot of people, like just that use case of using a spot robot to chase sheep around, it's like, if you look at these farm dogs, they'll operate for 10 hours nonstop. This robot will last half an hour out in the field, and it's going to sit in the first puddle and then its battery's fried, and it can't jump fences. So you have to keep opening fences for the stupid robots. So imagine trying to take a robot like that into warfare. It's like, it can hardly carry anything. It's only going to last a couple of hours. What are you going to carry a whole bunch of gen sets around to like charge your robot fleet? It's like, it's okay with a drone. It can last 3 hours. It can get to its target, job done, but some of these other robots is like, there's real power problems. There's real practical application problems. And so you'll find, hey, maybe a dog robot. We work with a great company in the oil and gas industry called Ghost Robotics. They build a version for the military, which does perimeter security. So if you're on a base, robot wakes up, walks the perimeter, makes sure nobody's trying to climb in, goes back and charges up and keeps going. Yeah, great use case.
David makes a great point. Robots work best today in highly constrained spaces, like a taped-off factory floor. That perfectly sets up our next guest, Nick. He's the co-founder of Andromeda, building autonomy for surgery. Why? He's doing that because performing surgery is actually an easier problem for a robot than navigating a city street. Let's hear how Nick is bringing cognitive assist into the operating room. What was the grand vision and where did you get started?
So it's interesting. My co-founder and I had the same concept and roughly the same concept independently before we met. And so we had both thought about autonomous surgical robots from different life experiences. We've been led to this point. And so for him, he built the first autonomous truck that ever drove on a freeway without a person. And then he also, like myself, had some tough experiences where we both had companies that got to a really good, like high valuation, great point. In my case, it was two different companies that both did that. And then, it wasn't necessarily a smooth path to the goal line from there. And then for him, he also had a situation where this company was super hyped up, did great things, but then didn't work out in the end. So yeah, he had thought about, okay, what else can I do? I've tried the autonomous driving thing. He's a robotics background, a lot of autonomy work. Then was thinking, okay, where else can we replace human labor with robotics and autonomy that's going to be valuable? And he had thought that surgery is a really fruitful place to do that this is a place that autonomy can add a lot of value. And then I had thought about just all the problems I had seen. I'd probably been in hundreds of operating room cases, different companies, and being in labs and whatever over my years, and just said a lot of things go wrong in surgery. And as a meta need, we should do something that causes there to be fewer complications. I had also kind of seen Waymo's launch right before this, and Tesla was building self-driving, and just thought that this is actually an easier problem. Surgery is a lot easier than driving. It's a more constrained environment. Yes, there's anatomic variability. There's more than most people think, actually, in the anatomy variation from one person to the next. But still, the world has a lot fewer features than the driving world, which is basically you can counter anything that exists in the whole world, really, when you're driving. And then there are other agents that are acting against you when you're driving too. There's a lot of other drivers. There's all kinds of pedestrians and bikers and animals and whatever else might get in your way, and construction, and it's endless number of things. But surgery was easier. And so I had thought about, okay, this technology exists, we can build this, and it would solve these problems that I'm always seeing in the operating room and make surgery much better and have a huge impact on human life. So we met up and had both been thinking about this, and then decided to brainstorm on it. We met up through the YC network. And when we looked into this, we basically realized that we were convinced this is definitely going to happen. Like, if we don't build this company, we will see somebody start this company in the next 10 years, if not sooner, and it's going to be huge. It's bigger, like what Intuitive is now, which is worth almost 200 billion now. This could be a lot bigger than that, because this is going to add a lot more value. The Intuitive robot is great. I mean, it adds a lot of physical value to surgeons, but adding the cognitive assist is much more impactful. You can potentially allow surgeons to do a lot more procedures in a day. So that's adding value, to hospitals, and then also have much better outcomes. And so that's, adding value to the patients. And then there's a lot of value to the surgeon as well.
And
so
what does Intuitive do, just for context?
So their main product is the DaVinci robot, which is I think it's 4-arm abdominal surgery robot that does a lot of the abdominal procedures, like prostatectomies is one that urologists do. And then you can do gallbladders and other things that are happening in that part of the body.
Right. And how does it sort of help? Like, why do surgeons use it? So this is got a picture of it here. So what is it? Yeah. How does it help?
Yeah, I mean, it makes the procedure physically easier. It allows them they basically control. It doesn't really change the controls that much. You use the controls in this little console, and then you can do the procedures in the body with these arms through the robot.
So
and it does. One reason it does help is you don't have to cut. It replaces a lot of open procedures, at least initially did. So where people would cut into the abdomen, now they can use these different robotic arms to do it instead. So there's always a lot of criticism that DaVinci doesn't improve outcomes. Now it's been shown it does improve outcomes in certain procedures, though there's a lot more. It's only scratching the surface of what you could do with an autonomous robot.
And this is what the surgeon actually does. Surgeon actually just sitting there.
They're in the console. Yeah, they're in this console and they're operating through that. And these little actuators they have mimic the tools they would already use for what's called laparoscopic surgery, which is there's a non-robotic version where they have these tubes going through the abdomen that's not open. It's not cutting through. You're using these little tubes. And in those laparoscopic procedures, the surgeons manipulate these little controllers that are kind of like what the DaVinci robot has. So there is some precedent for this not being robotic, though with the robotic system, they get really good, dexterity and then also good visualization.
I see. So you're saying laparoscopy, you're actually manipulating the tool yourself with your hand versus this, you're kind of disconnected from the actual things you're manipulating.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting. Okay. And you're saying
this is a mainstay in most major hospitals in the US and a lot of the world. I mean, this is everywhere now.
And you were saying this is great, but let's add some intelligence to it or something. Is that right?
Yeah. So in what we realize is that the physical challenges of surgery are not limiting the outcomes that much. It's why DaVinci, though it has shown some outcome improvement, has not shown a lot. That there's a lot more you could get from using AI to assist surgeons. And I think everybody, even Intuitive, understands that. Most people think that it's 20 years away that we're going to be able to do this. But, as we've talked about, you can build it now. And so that's what we're doing. We just said, we've got a great opportunity to build this now. The technology is definitely there. MedTech is always 10 years behind. And so we have 5-10 year head start on when this probably would be built otherwise. And so we should just do it. And let's do it as fast as we can. And just try to expand autonomy and expand the number of procedures we offer as fast as possible.
Kind of crazy to think that we might see autonomous robots in surgery before we see fully self-driving cars everywhere in the streets. But while Nick is focusing on the operating room, our final guest is tackling a massive crisis deep underground. Globally, 30% of our fresh drinking water is lost because of pipe leaks. Let's hear how Harrison and his team deploy autonomous robots into high-pressure water pipes to find those leaks before cities run completely out of water.
So you see sort of like you servicing contracts for like utilities, and then separately you having like a platform for other companies to sort of build on the hardware platform for their own niche applications. Is that kind of the right way to think about it? So I mean, so you're both kind of like a service company and a platform. Like, why not just do the platform part? That seems easier, and like have other people use your platform to do the service piece themselves.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely where we've started, and what's kind of the next step for the robot. But I think it's much harder to achieve the same level of impact with just the platform play. To get fleets of robots that talk to each other, that are constantly living in pipes, yes, that's not easy. That's definitely the moonshot goal. But it also has the most potential in terms of impact. Globally, 30% of all our fresh drinking water is lost to pipe leaks. That's 4%.
How much? 30%.
That's the global stat. In places like Europe, where they've got really old pipes, it's higher. Like Mexico City, where the city is sinking, so they have so many problems with their underground infrastructure. The shipping, they're bringing tankers full of water in because they can't maintain it. So there are definitely places that it's much worse than that 30% figure. Here in Sydney, I think it's about 12, 13%, which is better than that global average. But you've also got places that are constrained in terms of their water supply. I mean, a couple of years ago, South Africa almost ran out. Not South Africa, sorry. Cape Town in South Africa almost ran out of water. And that's just going to.
How do you run out of water?
Yeah, they came really close to what they called day zero. Their reservoir, their dam, was being used at a faster rate than it was being replenished. And what that means is, as climate change continues to worsen in certain regions and water insecurity grows, there will be more and more cities that go through dry periods and use their entire water supply before it gets replenished. That was kind of almost the case when PureLink was conceived. We were under water restrictions. Warragamba Dam was getting low. And so it's something that I think might be uniquely Australian in the sense of we've grown up around it. We've had water restrictions. It's the land of droughts and flooding rains. And so we see that juxtaposition of we can run out of water. It's a thing that can happen.
Doesn't happen in New Zealand, I guess. But the bigger vision of like having these kind of autonomous robots or a fleet of robots going through the pipes, what are the biggest kind of engineering challenges to get to that place?
Yeah. So there's three key challenges that you need to solve. The first one is a form factor that can navigate and withstand that environment. So you're looking at about 120 PSI is the standard, water pressure that you would experience in a water main. Sounds like a lot, but it's about the same as about an 80-meter water depth. And there's hobbyist, submarines that go down to that level. So that's okay to deal with. The next part about it is autonomy. It's got to be able to make decisions inside of the pipe with no human operator or human in the loop control. So that requires, significant amount.
Why is that? Why is that important?
Well, if you want economies of scale of fleets of robots out in these pipes, finding and fixing leaks before they become a problem, you would either need to scale a team of humans to control each and every one of these pipes, which is quite difficult to do, or you facilitate that through autonomy. And I think that's where robotics is heading in terms of the efficiencies that it can introduce. That's something that I think we have a unique advantage in as we start to roll out our robots into more pipes. We collect more data and our robots get better and better over time at making decisions inside of these environments. And then the third aspect of that is your power and communication. So your power system, as I mentioned earlier, there's so much kinetic energy running through a pipe. That's a relatively, I say simple, but it's a relatively obvious one to tap into. And then communication. You really have to use low bandwidth flags with really long wavelengths that can penetrate through the ground. So you have to, be able to indicate really simple things like leak here, blockage here, because you're not going to be able to stream out HD footage or provide a point cloud of what's going on. So it is really reliant on that autonomy to be able to make those decisions.
Thank you for tuning in to TechMates. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with friends. We'll be back soon with more stories of Kiwi and Aussie founders reshaping the future and disrupting down under. Until next time, keep dreaming big and daring to disrupt.